Tonight, closed-door discussions between Israel and the US in Israel's bid to normalize ties, and two unlikely allies in a fight against what they call inappropriate gender ideology curriculum. We cover stories about India's increasing religious intolerance, Sweden's freedom of speech laws, and the world-famous Niagara Falls. Assalamu alaikum. Good evening. This is Muslim News Canada on Muslim Network TV. I'm Catherine Bullock. Israeli intelligence chief David Barnea has been holding undisclosed talks in Washington about the Biden administration's ongoing push to normalize relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia. A report citing two unnamed US officials says Barnea, who heads Israel's Mossad intelligence service, met senior White House and CIA officials 2 weeks ago. US President Joe Biden is seeking to cement an agreement by early next year at the latest that would see Saudi Arabia and Israel officially recognize each other. The report says Biden is keen to have the pact in place before the 2024 US election campaign season in the spring. Barnea's visit comes as Israel wants to ensure its security interests are clear to Washington. These interests include proposals that could see the US provide Riyadh with assistance on the development of a civilian nuclear program, as well as potential arms sales to the kingdom. Jake Sullivan, Biden's national security advisor, visited Riyadh last week. The White House says he discussed with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and other senior officials a common vision for a more peaceful, prosperous, and stable Middle East region connected with the world. Barnea met Sullivan before he departed for Saudi Arabia and also sat down with a host of other key administration officials, including the CIA director and a White House Middle East point person. Canada has been seeing protests from people from various faiths against what they believe is an inappropriate gender ideology curriculum in schools. The protests have become a significant topic of discussion across the country. They are similar to issues faced in the United States. An Egyptian immigrant and Muslim criticizes what he sees as the forced expansion of LGBTQ+ ideology on the entire population. He recalls how the Christian majority respected his identity when he arrived in Canada. He says it is an unlikely situation now, where he believes a small percentage of the population is imposing their agenda. The protests, which gained media attention in downtown Calgary, Alberta, also saw heartening moments of unity between different religious groups. Counter-protesters urged respect for LGBTQ+ students amid the tensions. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau also addressed the matter, emphasizing the importance of understanding the actual curriculum and debunking misinformation spread by the American right wing. Similar concerns have been raised by Muslim parents in the US. Some parents in Canada, discontent with the school curriculum, have opted to homeschool their children. A deputy imam has been killed as a mob of extremist Hindus attacked a mosque and set it on fire today in a suburb of New Delhi, India. Far-right Hindu groups aligned with the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party are trying to stop Friday prayers in the region. The mosque was one of the few places officially allowed to hold prayers. The situation in the area remains tense as mobs continue to vandalize businesses, most of which belong to Muslims. Authorities have arrested several individuals and launched an investigation into the attack. The incident occurred after deadly communal violence in a nearby district in Haryana state. 4 people, including 2 police personnel, were killed during these clashes, which occurred when a procession passed through a Muslim-majority area. To control the situation, the state government imposed a curfew, used tear gas, and fired shots in the air. Internet services were suspended and large gatherings were banned in the area. Earlier, a railway security guard was arrested for allegedly shooting dead a colleague and 3 passengers on a train. The suspect had mental health issues, but a video showed him making hate speech against those who don't vote for the Prime Minister and a Chief State Minister. The incident has triggered condemnation on social media. Opposition leaders hold the BJP accountable for the increasing hate and violence in India. Calls for collective efforts to address the escalating tensions and maintain peace in the state have been made. The Swedish government says it has no plans for extensive changes to freedom of speech laws. However, it is open to exploring measures that would allow the police to intervene if the burning of holy books poses a clear threat to national security. Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson says that Sweden upholds freedom of speech, but urges responsible and respectful use of this right. He highlighted the balance between freedom and responsibility in a free country like Sweden. In response to recent incidents of Quran burning that have caused outrage in Muslim countries, the governments of Sweden and Denmark are examining ways to legally limit such acts to de-escalate tensions. Denmark's Security and Intelligence Service has raised concerns over an increased risk of attacks due to the Quran burning incidents. The 57-nation Organization of Islamic Cooperation held an extraordinary session strongly condemning the Quran burning. The OIC called upon member states to consider appropriate action, whether political or economic, in response to the desecration of the Quran. As discussions continue between the Nordic governments and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, the Swedish government has announced temporary measures to enhance internal security and border controls. It has granted the police wider authority to stop and search individuals. For more on a vandalism attack on a Montreal mosque, stay tuned. The interim government in Afghanistan is calling on the World Bank to resume incomplete projects in the war-torn country. Welcoming the latest World Bank report on Afghanistan, the Taliban Economic Affairs Office said in a statement that economic development in Afghanistan can be achieved through constructive engagement from the international community, lifting sanctions, and unfreezing assets. The Taliban called on the World Bank to resume and complete projects that are funded but remain unfinished. It urged international organizations to, quote, transparently share Afghanistan's developments so that the international community can see the actual situation in the country. The statement highlighted decreasing inflation in the country. The Economic Affairs Office said the value of Afghanistan's official currency against foreign currencies has strengthened, which has led to lower prices for both food and non-food items. Britain has formally acknowledged that acts of genocide were committed against the Yazidi people by the ISIS terror group in 2014. The announcement comes on the 9th anniversary of atrocities committed against the Yazidi people in northern Iraq. Lord Ahmed, the UK's Minister of State for the Middle East, said in a statement, quote, the Yazidi population suffered immensely at the hands of Daesh 9 years ago, and the repercussions are still felt to this day. He continued, justice and accountability are a key for those whose lives have been devastated. In August 2014, ISIS terrorists attacked Sinjar, a region with a Yazidi majority population. The terror group kidnapped and killed thousands of people, including women and children. Some of them were detained areas under ISIS control. The UK now officially recognizes 5 instances as genocide: the Holocaust, Rwanda, Srebrenica, and acts of genocide in Cambodia and against the Yazidi people. The Muslim community in Montreal and Quebec are raising concerns after the Imam Warsh Mosque in Montreal was targeted this past Saturday. Large pieces of cement were thrown through the windows, causing extensive damage. The mosque is now locked. Montreal police have arrested a suspect, and the hate crimes unit is investigating the incident. Police say it is too early to determine whether the vandalism was motivated by hate. City Councillor Abdul Haq Sari has condemned the vandalism. Sari has shared photos of the shattered front windows on his social media. He and Haroun Bouazi, the Quebec Solidaire MNA for Maurice Richard, point out that this is not the first incident of its kind in the neighborhood. Bouazi says the portrayal of Muslims in the public discourse in Quebec is contributing to such incidents. The Muslim community in Quebec endured horrific Islamophobia in 2017 when Quebec City mosque shooting left several dead and injured. The Canadian Muslim Forum issued a statement condemning the vandalism and expressed concern over such acts targeting Muslim places of worship. Niagara Falls is a world-famous waterfall in a town in Ontario, Canada. The fascinating waterfall wonder is formed by 3 waterfalls at the southern end of Niagara Gorge. These waterfalls are called Horseshoe, American, and Bridal Veils waterfalls, pouring into Lake Ontario on the US-Canada border. The largest of the 3 is Horseshoe Falls, which runs across the international border of the 2 countries. The spectacle spans the border between the province of Ontario in Canada and the state of New York in the United States. It is also known as the Canadian Falls. Niagara Falls welcomes millions of visitors every year. It has its busiest days in June, July, and August. The falls is visited by more than 13 million people from Canada every year. Thank you for watching. Our news is produced by Sound Vision, which is a not-for-profit organization. We need your support for donations. Please scan the QR code on our broadcast or visit muslimnetwork.tv to donate now, so we can continue to amplify the voices of Muslims in Canada and abroad.